What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and today I am shooting a request video. Al Murray 2000 on my video, I believe on ASMR, says, I'd be interested to hear your take on marriage. What is it, and why do people get married? Objectively, I can see certain tax advantages. This may not apply everywhere, but where I am, that seems the only objective benefit. Everything else seems subjective to me in a way of placating insecurities. Boy, am I glad you asked this question. I have very strong opinions on marriage, and I have a lot of experience with marriage. So I've been married twice. The first time, so we were married for I don't know how many years, honestly, 6, less, I don't know. We got divorced, we got back together, we lived as a married couple, but we weren't legally married. I could make a whole video about the benefits of that.
2 years, all married 2 years.
Okay, there's my wife, right on cue. I was married to my first wife for 2 years, but we were together for 8 or so total. I just celebrated my 9th wedding anniversary to my lovely wife, Sarah. So this video obviously doesn't apply to her. No, but for real, I do have very strong opinions on marriage. And while I am currently married and happily married and absolutely in love with my wife, I would fucking never do it again. Ever. So before we get to my opinions on why marriage is a terrible, horrible idea that no one should ever engage in, I think honestly my wife might even agree with me on a lot of these points at this point in our marriage. Let me quote you one of my favorite stand-up comedians of all time. I use his work frequently on my channel, and that is the great one and only Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle said, "The diabolical reality of marriage in the United States, and I'm just being honest, devoid of religious significance or the idea of love, marriage is nothing but an awful contract that you should not sign." He is absolutely right. Marriage is maybe one of the worst possible contracts you could possibly engage in if you are a man who brings home the bacon. And that's where the dividing line lies here, fellas. I am basically talking to the men in my audience. If I was going to make this video and I was going to dedicate it to women, then I would say, without a doubt, marriage is the best contract you could ever sign. Marry the first dope who has a fucking day job that you can find and take this motherfucker to the cleaners. Because that's all marriage is good for. Marriage is only good for one thing and one thing only, and that is to allow women to not carry their share of the burden and to play the fucking victim. So the overwhelming majority of marriages, really in the world, I'm sure, but certainly in America, fail. The overwhelming majority do. And when they do, the average cost of the divorce alone, if we're just talking about the cost of the divorce, in the state of Texas, on average, it costs, without children. This is if you don't have children. A standard divorce in the state of Texas, on average, costs $15,600. And a divorce with children costs $23,500. That's just the cost of getting divorced. That is not saying anything about everything that you as a man are going to lose in this exchange. So if you are the primary breadwinner and you've met a girl and you guys have been dating for a while and you're massively in love and you want to spend the rest of your life together, under no circumstances should you marry this woman. This is actually, contrary to popular belief, the last person you want to marry. The more happy you are in the dating game, the more happy you are in an otherwise perfectly committed relationship, the more you should not get married. Getting married is not going to make your relationship better at all. At all. It's going to do absolutely nothing to strengthen your relationship. In fact, it will absolutely weaken it in every way. So how could that be, you say? Well, first of all, let's talk about the complete disparity right out the gate. So here you are, you're a man, and you've got a good job, and you've met this girl and you're in love with her and you guys are sharing an apartment and maybe you both work, okay? Unless she massively out earns you, or unless she's prepared to be the fucking breadwinner, financially there is zero benefit to you marrying her, okay? But independent of how much money she does or doesn't make, the first thing you're gonna do before you ask this lovely lady to be your wife is you're going to buy her an engagement ring. Now let's think through the logic of this. You are a high value male, okay? You have a job, you have gainful employment, I'm assuming you're somewhat attractive. Basically, you're the kind of guy who could get girls. If you are the kind of guy who could absolutely leave the girl you're with and go get with another girl relatively easily, don't get married. No reason to get married. Okay, so you've got this girl, you've picked her out of the bunch, you really like her, now you want to propose to her. Well, the first thing you have to do is go into fucking massive debt probably, or you have to have been saving up a bunch of money because you're gonna want to buy her an engagement ring. Now, why you need to do this, I will never fucking understand. This practice should have gone by the wayside fucking decades ago, but it's one of these things that has hung along. And it seems that young couples today are less caught up in it maybe than I was. Maybe this is just a problem that I had. I was one of these guys who felt like the size of the rock you put on the girl's finger was kind of almost like an indicator of what a quality husband you were. And so the bigger rock you put on her finger, the less likely other men were going to hit on her, or whatever, however you want to psychologically analyze the engagement thing. What you need to understand is that it is this tiny sliver of time in your marriage. So in my case, I had actually bought my previous wife a ring, which I retrieved from her when we got divorced. And I had got it at K Jewelers, and it was, I don't know, it was thousands of dollars. I don't remember what it was. And then when I got with my current wife, with Sarah, K Jewelers had a program where you could trade up, basically. You could bring back a ring that you had already purchased so long as you purchased one of double the value. So they would like give you a credit. They would give you some credit toward the greater purchase. So I was able to really get a good deal financially and get my wife a really nice ring, like a Leo solitaire, big chunk. I forget exactly what the total diamond weight is. It's a single princess cut solitaire. And this is an exciting moment for both of you because this is the point in your marriage, in your relationship, where you are now officially going to become a couple to everyone. You've already been a couple, but our society still looks at marriage in a different way, or at least it did when I was 10 years ago. Getting married says you're really serious. Okay, so when you go out and you buy this $10, $15, $20,000 plus diamond ring, you've just spent half the price of a fucking decent automobile on this really pretty, shiny, fucking totally useless rock that's going to go on her finger, and you only get your money's worth in about the first 6 months to a year. Because the first thing everyone is going to ask this girl when she says, "We're getting married," is, "Oh my God, let me see the ring." And so I didn't want my girl to have some tiny little embarrassing ring, even though she wouldn't have been embarrassed. She was not that kind of woman. Sarah has never been that kind of woman. I have always projected my wealth values onto her. They were certainly not hers. She could have had a little tiny quarter-carat diamond ring and it would have made a bit of fucking difference to her, probably. Like, she wouldn't have left me over it. But that's the thing. Even if you've got a really frugal woman, if you've got a really sensible woman who's not going to, even if she's not going to be upset by only having a quarter carat, she's still going to be really proud of that full carat. That carat and a half, or that 2 carat, whatever you can afford to get her. She's still gonna be really proud of it if she can get it. And so, obviously, the bigger the ring, the more expensive, the bigger statement you're making, and you imagine that this is going to be something that's gonna carry you through life. I cannot remember the last time anyone said anything about the very expensive diamond ring on my wife's hand. I mean, nobody has probably mentioned that in close to a fucking decade. So just about anything else that I could have invested that money on, I could have put that money in the stock market, and we would be orders of magnitude better off than we are, having got sucked into the bullshit game of, and some women these days are like, oh, well, I'm not marrying a guy if the ring he buys me is not at least 2.5 times his monthly salary. Bye, bitch, bye. If you met a woman who cares at all about the fucking ring you put on her finger, get a new woman immediately. Don't date this girl. Fuck her at a maximum. If you are in a relationship with a girl and she starts talking about how big of a ring she's gonna get, end her immediately. Get rid of her. Totally fucking useless. So, right out the gate, marriage is a horrible situation for a man because he's already, for some reason, the one who's got to put this financial stake. He's got to make a financial investment in a person, knowing that the statistical probability of this investment panning out is really, really poor. If I asked you to invest $70,000 in a stock that had a 70% chance of going bankrupt, nobody in their fucking right mind would do that. And that's effectively what every man in America is doing when he decides to go out and spend large sums of money on a fucking diamond ring. He is investing his money into a risk, into a marriage, an institution that has like a 70% fail rate, okay? So unless you have a contract with this girl that says, if we get divorced, I get this fucking rock back, absolutely do not buy her an expensive diamond ring. All of the excitement that you're going to get out of that is going to be very short-lived. It's never going to come up for the rest of your fucking marriage. I'm telling you. I cannot remember the last time somebody talked about her ring. Now, maybe girls talk about it. Maybe she could meet somebody tomorrow and some woman and she'd say, oh, how long have you guys been married? And Sarah could say 10 years and she'd go, well, let's see the ring. I don't think that happens. I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure that it doesn't happen. Okay, so right out the gate, we have this disparity. Why is it that the guy has to buy the girl something to prove his worth, but she doesn't have to do anything to prove her worth? What is this convention that we're still buying into? The weird thing is, way back in the day, it was totally the opposite. So like way back in biblical times, if a guy chose to marry a woman, her father gave him a dowry to take this bitch off of his hands. So when a man chose a wife, he got paid, not the other way around. But somehow the puritanical Christians fucked that shit all up. And so now we're supposed to invest in this girl who thus far has not done anything really to invest in us. So I don't know why. I mean, to me, if I was with a girl and she's like, if I was doing this again and she said, let's get married and I want you to buy me a ring, I'd be like, okay, cool. I will buy you a ring of the exact same value that you spend on me. You know? Like, what the fuck? I'll tell you what, I'll buy you a $10,000 ring. You put a $10,000 down payment on a fucking M4 in my name only. And if we get divorced, I keep the car, you keep the ring. How about that? You'll see how many fucking women would want to get married then. Marriage rates would fucking plummet into the fucking toilet if the woman was expected to invest in the man first. That's how you know this is a busted fucking deal out the gate. So, but you get past that. You say, fuck it, okay? Maybe you're lucky. Maybe you don't have to buy an expensive ring. Now we still get back to the problem of how are you going to choose to live your life? Are you old school like me, where you want your wife to be a stay-at-home mom? You don't want her out in the workplace, so she's not bringing home any income? If that's who you are, you need to understand that you're going to be going to work every day at a job you probably don't love, bringing home the fucking bacon, for her to cook. Maybe she's good at it, maybe she's not. For her to take care of the house, maybe she's good at it, maybe she's not. Maybe she's a modern woman and she gets to stay at home and raise the kids, but she still expects you to hire a fucking cleaning lady to clean the fucking house, do half her fucking job for her. Okay, so already her value is continuously going down. And then one day she decides to up and better bet her hand. You know, maybe she starts fucking the neighbor. Maybe she just gets tired of your shit. Maybe you fall on hard times and she doesn't want to stand behind you. whatever the fucking cause may be, when you get divorced, she's gonna take half your shit. Half. At least half. If you got kids and you get divorced, she's getting that house, guys. She's getting it. The judge is gonna give her the house so that her and the kids have a place to go. When push comes to shove in a divorce, men get fucked astronomically. And so we know this. We know that, number one, out the gate, divorce is going to cost $15,600 all the way up to $23,500 just in legals fees before you start dividing property and before you get saddled with the other nightmare, which is designed to destroy you, and that is child support. Child support is the biggest fucking hustle known to man. It is totally wired in the fucking females on the side, and it allows women to basically treat children like fucking paychecks. But we're going to get to that in a minute. Because right now we're still talking about the consequences of a divorce, which if you're getting married, you need to go into this marriage understanding that the odds are you're going to get divorced, okay? So when Dave Chappelle says that the diabolical reality of marriage in the United States, devoid of religious significance or the idea of love. Okay, well, we can take the idea of love and throw it right out the fucking window immediately. Just ask yourself this question. How many people in your life have you said I love you to? Probably not one. Probably not five. Shit's probably a lot, isn't it? When you tell your wife you love her, you feel the exact same thing, more or less, within gradations of what you told your of how you felt for your first girlfriend. In fact, you probably love your first love way more than you love your wife, because your first love was pure and unadulterated. You never had your heart broken. You've never been hurt before. So the reality is that the love that you feel for the person you finally decide to get married is really probably a watered down version of what you really had to offer, because by the time you get married, you've probably had your heart walked on multiple fucking times. Let me let you guys in on a little secret. Love does not exist. Love is a word. That's all it is. When we say we're in love with somebody, what we really mean, what we are quantifying with that word is the sum total of the neurochemicals that fire in our brains when we are close to someone that we feel a connection with. And so that's oxytocin, norepinephrine, adrenaline. There's all of these neurochemicals. Somebody classically said, I can't remember who it was, classically said that love is no different than eating large amounts of chocolate. Is that in Good Will Hunting? I can't remember. Love is just a neurochemical reaction in the brain. You tell your daughter you love her, your dad you love him, your mom you love her, you tell your wife you love her. So many things in this world, so many bad decisions are made because of this supposed thing called love. Love is one of the most toxic fucking things that has ever existed on earth. It is basically a corporate invention to take your fucking money. That's all it is. You can feel love for an inanimate object. Saying that you love something does not mean anything really at all. But women, in their very estrogen dominant fucking ways of life, they place an inordinate amount of value on something that doesn't actually have any value. Okay? It doesn't have any value. There are couples, there are lots of couples actually, who have had very, very successful long-term committed relationships, who were arranged marriages. They didn't feel an ounce of love for each other when they got together, and yet they were able to go on and have very, very healthy, successful marriages. When you are in love with someone, I think there's a book called On Desire that says love is basically friendship gone mad. Anything you do for love, you're doing for a decidedly bad reason. When you're in love, your brain is basically overcome with chemicals that are making you make irrational decisions. Love is not a rational feeling. That's how you can end up stealing your best friend's wife, like I did, because I was in love. Of course I'm going to take my best friend's wife, because love basically makes you insane. When you feel like you're in love with someone, you will do and think and say things that you would never fucking do or think or say when you were otherwise behaving rationally and normally. Okay, so love is a hijacking of the brain created by an evolutionary system that will ensure that you pair bond with a member of the opposite sex long enough for the next shoe to drop. And that is, you will eventually get her pregnant. When my wife and I, Sarah, got together, she told me she didn't have to take birth control because the doctors told her she couldn't have babies. And I was like, well, I mean, you know, she didn't have babies with her previous husband, and she was like in her middle 30s, but I was suspicious. I kept saying, why is it that you can't have babies again? And she was like, well, I don't know. I mean, it's not that I couldn't get pregnant. It's like basically they told me that I probably wouldn't carry one to term because she had endometriosis or some bullshit. And right out the gate, I said, bullshit. I'm warning you right now. You have all of the equipment. I have all of the equipment. I know my equipment works very well. If we keep having sex with no protection, you're going to get pregnant. And now we have a daughter named Allison. So doctors don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Never listen to a woman tell you that she can't get pregnant. Never trust a woman to take her birth control pill. Babies are nothing other than a hook in your mouth to trap you in an environment that you should not be in. No man on earth, really, I mean, I shouldn't make these blanket statements. The overwhelming majority of men on earth would not have children if not for the psychological melodrama that our evolutionarily designed brains play out to convince us to make bad decisions. Which is why I said in my ASMR video that the number one piece of advice that I could give to any man on this planet, any young man, is go get a vasectomy the day you turn 18. So that even if you fall in love with some girl and you go completely insane, which is what you are while you're in love, when you're sitting across the table at dinner and you're smitten with her and you're sharing your spaghetti noodle and you're putting little bites in her mouth and you can't wait to hold it, you're fucking nuts, bro. You're nuts. You're the fucking lion on the savannah. You're supposed to be killing and conquering and tearing shit the fuck up. Why are you sitting at a table? Why are you in an art museum or a gallery walking around with this woman, holding her hand, whispering sweet nothings into her ear? Does this sound like the kind of behavior that a fucking alpha male lion has? Fuck no. You are out of your fucking mind when you tell a girl you're in love. But what you're saying is, oh my God, I've gone completely insane with you. And so now your brain is going to convince you to do all of this insane bullshit that you would never otherwise voluntarily, consciously do. And one of those things it's going to try to convince you of is to have babies. And when you have a baby, now she's got you for life. For life. Young men, please listen to me. A baby is the same thing as a prison sentence. It's a life sentence. You could go out, you could get in a little fucking dust up at the bar, catch a little assault charge, get a little probation. You could be like me and get really unlucky. You have to go do 2 years at the big house. When your time is over, once I served my 2 years, I was scot clean. I was free. I'm still a felon, but I was free from this debt. I paid my debt to society. When you fuck up and have a child, you have that child for life. And that's not just the period of time the child's living in the house. Just ask my dad. He can tell you all about what the cost of raising a child is, even when that child is out of the house. Even when that child is 35 years old or 43 years old. Because now, his son, my dad, me, okay, I have kids, which are his grandkids. He has feelings for his grandkids because evolutionarily we're designed to care about our offspring's offspring. So now my dad, who's 70 fucking years old, still spends his nights worrying about what the fuck I'm doing on this YouTube channel and whether or not I'm going to make myself unemployable, and then that's going to negatively affect his grandchildren. So see, when you have a baby with a woman, you are actually catching multiple life sentences. You're going to serve out the sentence of the life of your child and their child and their child. When my grandmother died, she was a great-great-grandmother. She had kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. She was the matriarch of our family, and she could look out on her progeny. My two grandparents spawned like 35 Van Dusens or some crazy shit. From two people came all of these people, and those two people are emotionally connected to all of that shit. Okay? So having children is almost like catching a life sentence that just keeps adding time and multiplying and getting worse and worse and worse. And it's like, yeah, there's advantages. Sure, I love my kids. I love my daughter. Because I'm programmed to. Let's be honest. I can't help it. Have you ever seen that person who's got like a really ugly fucking kid and they don't know? They don't know their kid's ugly. Could be my daughter. Maybe my daughter's an ugly troll. I would never fucking know because neurochemically, I am wired to give my life for my fucking children. Okay, you can't escape it. It takes so much to overcome the powerful bond that is built between a father and son, a father and daughter, mother and child. It is extraordinarily difficult to overcome. And even if you succeed in overcoming it, it still is damaging to you in the long term. My oldest son doesn't live with me because he was a threat to everyone in this house. But that doesn't mean that I don't pay a daily emotional, psychological cost for having had failed in making him become the man I wanted him to be. So when you get married and you have kids, you are basically selling your soul into the hands of other people that you cannot control. Your wife at any time can up and fucking leave you and take from you half of everything you earned, your heart, your soul, your children, your everything. Everything that you sacrificed your youth on, she can just take away from you in one fell swoop. Then you're paying child support. Then you're living out of a tiny house or apartment while she's got the house and the car and the kids. Then these kids that you invested however many years in, maybe she starts to poison them. Maybe she starts to tell the kids, you know, dad ain't shit, because if dad really cared about us, he would still be here. If dad hadn't done this or hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have left him. Now these kids that you sacrificed your youth for, that you didn't get your BMW, you didn't fulfill one of your dreams so that you could fulfill your children's dreams. Now you've invested all of this shit in these kids, and one day your kid grows up and goes, you know what? Fuck you, dad. You ain't shit. I don't love you anymore. I'm leaving. I never want to see you again. And there goes another investment. You see, everything to do with the human condition is all wired on making you make the absolute dumbest investments possible into things that have no guarantee of return. You would be far better off being single, investing in the stock market, pursuing your own dreams, your own aspirations, having a little pussy on the side, never let anything go to the heart. Best case scenario, you find a girl that you really care about and the two of you enter into a contract. She keeps her own residence. You keep your own residence because they've got tricks to get you. Even if you try to stay single, she can fuck around and common law marry you. So you can't even have a perfectly healthy relationship with a woman and decide not to be married, because if she lives with you for too long and doesn't maintain her own residence, then all of a sudden you're married by default and she can still take half of your shit. This is how much the American government wants to fuck you as a man. The entire system is built to destroy you. Stay the fuck away from it. Get a vasectomy. Do not be trapped with children. Never get married to any woman, really ever. If you have a really good, genuine relationship with a woman, a marriage will not make it better. If she really cares about you as a person, then she should not care about that piece of paper and that rock on her finger. If she really cares about the future of your family, then she should care about her autonomy and your autonomy. Because what happens when you get married is both you and your wife give up your autonomy. If you have a girlfriend, like let's say Sarah and I were just dating right now. She had her own bank account, I had my own bank account. She had her job, I had my job, we have no kids. We get into a really ugly fight, maybe like the one we just had. She goes, you know what? Fuck this guy. All she has to do, walk out the fucking door. That's all she has to do. All she has to do is walk out the door. She could send her dad or some movers over here with a fucking truck, pick up all her shit, take her shit, whatever she came into the relationship with, whatever she bought. She could take her shit, she could leave. That is the full extent of what she has to do. But she's married. So now that she's married, if she decides, what if I was to lose my mind right now? What if I was to sit here and completely lose my mind and go into the other room and smack shit out of my wife? Could happen. Could fucking happen, right? I can't know it's not going to happen. It's not. Okay, don't worry for the sake of this video. I'm just giving you a hypothetical. If I was to do that, she's going to leave. Okay, she's going to leave. I promise you. If I go in there and smack shit out of my wife right now, she's going to leave. The only debate is whether she's going to call the cops. That's the only debate. But she's definitely leaving. So let's say she chooses not to go the legal route, but she says, that's it. I am done with you. I'm out of here. Okay, cool. First, she has to file for a divorce. She has to file for a divorce. In the state of Texas, there's a 6-month waiting period for a divorce to be final. 6 months minimum. So, even if we both agree, like I go in there and go, yeah, I want you out of my life. She's like, yeah, I want you out of my life. No one can make the other party leave the house. So if my wife comes in here today and if I get a knock at the door right now and I go to the door and it's some guy standing there and he goes, you've been served. And I look at it and it's like, holy shit, my wife's divorcing me. That's all she's done is filed paperwork. That's it. So I can go in there and climb right back in bed next to her. She has the choice. She now has to leave the house or convince me to leave the house. But once you file for the divorce, there's nothing to make one party or another leave. That's all a legal process. So if she decides to file for a divorce, she has to go get a job. And then there's the process of dividing up assets. So let's say she wants the house. Well, I have a vested interest in the house. So first, we would have to find out what the house is worth, and then she would have to buy out my interests in the house. I would be entitled to half of the value of the home. So if she wants to keep the home, then she has to buy out the home. She has to refinance the house in her name, give me my equity. Then we have multiple cars. At one time, we had a boat. All of the fucking debt that we have in the marriage is community debt. So whatever amount of liquid cash we have, let's say we had $300,000 in our bank account. She filed for divorce. Okay, well we owed $250,000 on our house. We owed $50,000, $35,000 on a boat. We owed $50,000 on a car. We own all of these things. So we either have to agree, okay, I take the car and the boat, and you take this car, and you keep the house, but you pay me my value, or we have to mutually both put the house on the market, get all of our property out. When the house sells, then we split the proceeds of the house. There's all of this shit that goes into a divorce. And so every time you get into a fight, and maybe you have a really good reason to want to leave this person, you don't. More often than not, you don't. No matter how good your reason is for leaving, what you have to do to actually get out is so daunting that the problem has to be really minor. So like for me and my wife, we've pretty much realized unless somebody cheats, beats, or gambles away the life savings, something like that, cheats, beats, or gives away the fucking money, we're not going anywhere. Because the fallout from going somewhere over some stupid pissant little argument, like whatever the fuck we were arguing about the other day, I don't even fucking goddamn remember. Whatever it is, it pales in comparison to me. Like right now, our mortgage is like 3.5%, 3.7%. If we get divorced, She's going to have to go get a 7+% mortgage. I'm going to get a 7+% mortgage. She's probably going to be paying $2,000 a month minimum for her fucking mortgage. I'm going to be paying $2,000 a month minimum for my mortgage. Now, I've got a car and a job and all of my own fucking bills, but I also have to have enough room to house both of my children when they come visit me. She's got to have a car, a house, all of her own bills, room for both of the children when they're with her. Then she's got to get a job. She's got to worry about childcare. It's a total fucking disaster. Now, all of this shit would have been made much better if I had just gotten a vasectomy when I was 18 and not gotten that second hook in my mouth. Do not have kids. Our species, it's time for our species to go the way of the dinosaur. The human animal does not deserve to exist on this planet. We are totally fucking useless. We are destroying the planet. The best thing that any of us could do is follow the lead, follow the recommendation by the character Rust in the show True Detectives, and march hand in hand into extinction. We have been sold a raw deal as human beings. This is a game we cannot fucking win, and continuing to make more and more children into a world that's getting hotter and more crowded and more polluted and more fucked up makes absolutely no fucking sense. Having children in this day and age is one of the single dumbest fucking things you could do. Absolutely horrific fucking decision to make. So the first step, don't get married. The second step, definitely don't have kids. And if you ignore advice A and B, then you're fucked. Just accept it. If you're married and you have kids, you better just find a way to make it work, because the alternative is a total fucking clusterfuck. The only exception to these rules that I'm trying to pave for you is if you happen to be a man who is a beta and or some kind of unique alpha who knows how to like stamp his pride down, and you have married a sugar mama. That would be the exception to the rule. So if you are a young man and you don't want to get a vasectomy, then you need to play the role of the woman. You need to go find the richest old woman you can find, or the richest woman of any age you can find, and get her knocked up so that she can take care of your ass. So that if she divorces you, you get half of her shit. Really, honestly, the kids is still a bad deal. So I would skip the kids part. Just go marry a rich woman so that at least if she divorces you, you walk away up rather than down. You always want to put yourself strategically in a position where if things go wrong, you stand to be the victor. Okay? That's kind of the position that I figured out in my marriage. I did everything wrong. I didn't have a vasectomy. I did get married. I now have children from 2 different women. One of them, however, I got legally taken care of. So the circumstances of my marriage are, if my wife leaves me, I'm going nomad. See, I'm not going to play society's game. I'm not going to go get a fucking house that will house both of my kids and a job that I fucking hate so that I can pay 25% of my salary to child support to her so she can tell the kids this or that. I don't think she would do any of these things. We've talked about this at length. But the power that I maintain in my marriage is that I refuse to play society's game. I'm not going to give her the luxury of being able to walk out the door, take half of everything that was mine, take the kids, get a quarter of my my income, and then force me to maintain a whole bunch of debt in the form of cars and houses and bedroom suits and all of this shit to play weekend dad in this game that I can't win. Because from a biological perspective, I've already won. I won the day I passed on my DNA. I've got 3 children that are little mini-me's. My DNA is already in the world, and my DNA is already going to survive whether I'm there or not. So from an evolutionary perspective, I've already won the game. The way for me to win the game completely is for these kids to be raised by somebody who's not me, who's not using my resources to raise them. This also is from Richard Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene, which if you have not read, it should be required reading. When you get through watching this video, you should look on YouTube and see if somebody has made a video describing Richard Dawkins' The Selfish Gene. If you can find a video that will paraphrase this for you, it will unlock the secret to fucking life. So the secret to life from an evolutionary perspective is to have the maximum number of children that you don't have to support. That's what us men figured out a long time ago, and why the legal system got involved and started doling out all this child support and all this other bullshit. Because before they fucking stacked the cards against us, men could just run around setting up franchises. We were just running around banging everything that had a pulse, having kids scattered all over the fucking place that we didn't have to take care of. That is winning at the evolutionary game. Society fucked up nature by instituting child support. So the way to unfuck what society did to men is to refuse to play the fucking game. So if my wife leaves me, she's not getting shit. Even if they force me to pay child support on zero income, I'm paying the minimum amount possible. I'm not going to maintain a house. I'm not going to maintain all this debt. I would rather be fucking homeless than have her wield that kind of power over me. So she is now constantly faced with, if I leave this guy, I have to go get a job, a house, a car, I have to provide daycare or get kids to and from school, do 100% of the cleaning, 100% of the cooking, 100% of the fucking daycare. I'm getting no financial support from him, and I'm getting no emotional support from anyone because I'm not going to have a partner. And if she tries to have a partner, that person has to be willing to take on all of her fucking baggage and me, possibly. So that's the only way as men we can live, is we have to unbalance the equation. They've tried to unbalance the equation in the favor of the female. You have to be willing to unbalance the equation back into your favor. But all of this can be prevented by just listening to what I'm telling you. Listen to what Dave Chappelle has told you. Listen to what famous thinkers, philosophers, the smartest people the world has ever known for millennia will all tell you. Love is a fucking myth. It does not exist. It is absolutely nothing more than a chemical reaction in your brain. It is designed to overcome your logic and reason so that you will pair bond to any female who is close enough to you. You will bond to her long enough to get her pregnant, to have children, and in the process of that, you will lose your fucking soul. That is what love is. It is one of the most insidious things evolution ever fucking designed, because it knew that any logical, clear-thinking man was never going to sign up for this dead-end job to begin with, and every species would go extinct. And so you have, the one thing we have as a human animal is a big fucking brain capable of figuring out reality. The reality is that love is not to be trusted. Go get a vasectomy. Find a girl that you actually get along with. Both of you have your own separate money, your own separate careers, your own separate lives, and let the time that you spend together be the thing that lifts both of you up rather than the thing that drags you down. Do not become codependent upon one another, and then your relationship will always be something that is additive. It's never subtractive. And the day that it becomes subtractive, because you have no children, because you have no co-assets, because you're not married, you can simply say, it was nice knowing you. You can part separate ways, and you can go find another girl that will be an additive source of joy and pleasure in your life, as long as she is capable of being that. And as long as you maintain those freedoms, then you can pursue all the dreams and aspirations you want, and you will not be a tool of the American government who slaves away at a dead-end job to pay for a house you don't need, to support kids you didn't fucking want to begin with, because you got sold the lie of love by the fucking chemical reaction in your brain that got you into this fucking mess to begin with. Another thing you can do, and I'm not advising that you should do this, but what you could do is if you're a young man and you find yourself getting overcome with the throes of love, you're finding yourself incapable of not fulfilling your sexual desires, and those sexual desires are getting you into relationships that are getting you trapped, crash your estrogen. Crash your estrogen. If you take Arimidex pills to the point that you crash your estrogen into the toilet, you will not pair bond with the opposite sex. You will have no interest in sex with girls. You will have no interest in hanging out with them, talking with them, or being manipulated by them. So if worst case scenario, you can't control what the shit your brain is trying to do to you, crash your fucking estrogen into the toilet and take your power back. There you have it. Hopefully this video has been informative. It's probably been a real kick in the fucking nuts for a lot of you. I wish I had better information to share with you. I have been very fortunate in my life to have found a partner who is truly willing to be 50-50. She is willing in every way to find her fault in the relationship, to work on her shit. She's never just pointing the finger at me and saying, he ain't shit, he's a bad... The strides that my wife has gone through to make our marriage work are absolutely nothing short of remarkable, and I am very, very, very fortunate to have found her. I would love it if every man in my audience could find a woman as valuable as my wife. There are almost none of them left in the world. Again, like I said in my ASMR video, you will not find a woman like my wife anywhere on the left side of the political spectrum. If you want a woman like my wife, the best odds you have of finding her is going to church, finding a girl who was raised in a strong, strict Christian upbringing, and then bring her to the light of reason, basically rob her of her faith, and then at best you will have a clean slate to work with. She probably won't have a body count a mile long. She will share my wife's conservative values. She will be the kind of woman who wants to align under a man, who wants the man to be the fucking king of the castle, the breadwinner, her support fucking person. This is you want a trad wife. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a woman who shares traditional values. Any woman you come across on planet Earth who does not share traditional values or who does not aspire traditional values is absolutely nothing more than a fuck toy. But only if you have a vasectomy. Because if you try to make some leftist liberal woman your play toy, I promise you, evolution will beat you. You will get her knocked up, and you will get trapped into the absolute total misery that I just spent the last half hour to 45 minutes explaining. Only consider engaging in a long-term committed relationship with a traditional woman. No other woman's value system on earth has any value at all. Get a vasectomy. Don't get married. This is my advice to you, no matter where you are. If you're 18, this works for you. If you're 35 and you have 2 kids and you just got divorced, stop the bleeding. Do what you got to do. Don't ever do it again. Anything you do for love, you are doing for all of the wrong reasons, I guarantee you. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.